Last night, J.D. Vance proved that he's staunchly behind the GOP presidential nominee. In his speech to the Republican National Convention, the vice presidential pick shared the personal story of his rise from poverty.
Vance also highlighted his conservative credentials and offered a fresh vision for the party's future. John Jessup has the story.
After a parade of familiar faces, some from Trump's first administration.
Good evening, Patriots.
Others representing everyday Americans, the main event featured a debut performance of sorts.
I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to say I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America.
James David Vance, known by his initials JD, first paying homage to the resilience of former President Donald Trump, looking on from the stands at his election for VP.
He can stand defiant against an assassin one moment and call for national healing the next.
Playing up his Rust Belt roots, the Ohio native shined a light on the plight of his hometown and other cities he described as devastated by the effects of globalization.
I promise you this. I will be a vice president who never forgets where he came from.
A night leaning heavy on military service and sacrifice, Vance acknowledged his tour in Iraq as a Marine combat journalist.
Semper Fi to my fellow Marines.
Throughout the speech, he drilled down on the night's theme of American strength at home and abroad, targeting trade deals benefiting countries like China and Mexico, while also putting America's military allies on notice.
We will make sure our allies share in the burden of securing world peace.
I am grateful to all of you for the trust you have placed in him and in our family.
Briefly sharing the stage with his wife Usha, a fellow Yale Law School grad, she helped to portray his softer side as a husband and a father of three. And he also received a resounding endorsement from the Trump family.
A kid from Appalachia and a kid from Trump Tower in Manhattan. We grew up worlds apart, yet now we're both fighting side by side to save the country we love.
Trump's campaign sees Vance reaching a younger audience and potentially drawing support from Silicon Valley, along with money from big tech donors. Still, one political observer from Vance's home state telling me on CBN's Faith Nation the freshman senator will have to thread the needle on differences with his running mate on taxes, a harder line on abortion, and a seemingly more labor-friendly approach.
His very strong populist streak over the last several years, where he says things like he has more in common economically with the Bernie Sanders kind of voters than other people, I think that's going to create some red flags out of parts of the Republican coalition.
But Wednesday's crowd in Milwaukee clearly approving of Trump's election. Vance fulfilled his twofold role, introducing himself to a national audience and setting the stage for tonight when Donald Trump, less than a week after his assassination attempt, accepts the Republican nomination for president and makes the case for a possible return to the White House. John Jessup, CBN News, Washington.
Well, for more on this story, we have CBN Chief Political Analyst David Brody. David, you're being very busy this year, so give us your take on J.D. Vance's speech. What did he deliver?
Oh, I think absolutely he did. You know, it reminds me of the movie The Natural with Robert Redford. Well, in this case, it's The Natural, as you will, regarding politics. He was very, very good. He had the regular guy vibe. He had the friendly vibe, smiling a lot, and really, really smart guy who was able to deliver heady and wonky policy issues in a very easy to understand way. He had all of the wonderful stories, including Mama and his gun-toting grandma. Just everything just seemed pitch perfect. And then, of course, the time with the moment with his mom, who's recovering from drug addiction for many years. It was quite a special moment. But look, I can't remember how many times he said Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, because he is from the Rust Belt. That's the allure. That's the electoral attraction, if you will, to make sure he can appeal in those Rust Belt states, which he will be able to do. Of course, we know about Hillbilly Elegy, a movie based on his life, and of course, the best-selling book.
Well, Mama got famous last night, you know, both a cussing, gun-toting Christian who wanted to take out all rivals. But I do have, unfortunately, some lingering questions about Are he and his wife really ready for the stage they're entering into? Some of it was just so wonderful and endearing and very personal. But you wonder in today's attack politics, are they ready for what's getting ready to happen?
Well, that's a great point, Gordon. And the answer is we don't know. It is an unknown. I mean, look, he's only been a senator a year and a half. He wasn't even in politics a few years ago. Gordon, this was the first Republican convention, any convention, that he's been to. So, I mean, he's 39 years old. He'll be 40 in August. He'll be the youngest VP since Nixon. And so, yeah, there are still a lot of unanswered questions about how he's going to handle the spotlight. He has not been fully vetted from a national perspective. So there are a lot of remaining questions.
Well, certainly from, I mean, they both have in the intellectual firepower. Goodness gracious, you look at their credentials and you just go, wow, you know, it's wonderful that they want to take this on. I have a lot of sympathy for anyone who wants to enter the national stage just because politics has turned into a blood sport. The fact that they're not turned off by that and they want to expose themselves, their children, to the firepower that our politics wants to unleash on families, I've got to tip my hat to them and say thank you. Let's talk about President Trump tonight. What does he have to deliver?
Well, I talked to a senior advisor just this morning for Trump's campaign, and I said, so who's helping President Trump write his speech? And the answer was Donald J. Trump. It's all him. Now, I don't have any sense that he's getting out Microsoft Word and doing autocorrect and actually going to any sort of computer. But the point is that it is all from his heart tonight. It will be straight as it relates to what Trump wants to say. He's fully in control of this speech specifically. So what we expect is a lot of talk about unity. But what does that mean exactly? And what does it look like? Are we going to be done with the crooked Joe and the sleepy Joe and the X, Y, and Z things he says about Joe Biden? I'm not sure. That we wait to see what the tone and tenor is like. But I get the sense, Gordon, this week that President Trump seems to be very, very much a different, changed man, at least the way he is being the way he's looking at these speeches in the hall. He just seems more reserved, more reflective than I've ever seen him before, Gordon.
Well, I'm expecting him to freestyle the whole moment, so it'll be typical Trump, and we'll just see. I hope he rises to the occasion, and definitely we need speeches on unity in America today. Let's talk about the Democrats. It looks like talk of President Biden stepping down is back in the news. Adam Schiff came out and publicly said he should withdraw. I'm hearing reports that there are private meetings with him. What's the latest?
Well, first of all, let's start with this. He's got COVID. So that takes him off the campaign trail. He'll be in Delaware this weekend recovering. So you kind of, when it rains, it pours, right? It's the bad debate week. They want to have him, or the bad debate a few weeks ago. They want to have him out. Now he's got COVID. And of course, now all of these reports, not just Adam Schiff specifically saying that he's thinks that Biden needs to get out of the race, but now there are reports, and here we go with the leaking, right? I mean, we hear reports now about privately Nancy Pelosi is telling Biden, you know, you got to get out. Chuck Schumer saying the same thing. Well, Gordon, why are these reports coming out all now? The way Washington works is you go to the principal at play, in this case Biden, and you say, look, it's time to go. And clearly Biden doesn't think yet it's time to go. And so you can be sure that these stories were leaked to put pressure on him to leave. This is the way Washington works. It's been that way for decades, and we're seeing that play out right now. I think this is just a tick, tick, tick scenario. Eventually, Joe Biden will, in essence, be forced, kicked, dragging, and screaming, but he'll be forced to step out of this race.
Well, I don't think he's going to voluntarily do it. Are we looking at some kind of floor fight at the Democratic convention where there's a move among the delegates aren't they bound by the primary vote to vote for him?
Well, they're bound except for 3 words. Good, or I should say 2 words. Good conscience. In other words, they have an out. If they want to vote their conscience and not vote for Biden, they can technically do so. Now, having said that, they pretty much are pledged to Biden. There's no doubt. I mean, that would be a radical move. But the truth of the matter here, Gordon, is that Biden is going with this guy named Mike Donnellan. He's his internal campaign pollster, and that's all that Biden's hearing, those poll numbers. And it's not correct because Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and others are bringing him other poll information, internal polls that show it's far worse than the public polls. For example, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, all more than 5 points. He's down by more than 5 points in those 3 key Rust Belt states. You'll notice that the public polls show it's within 2 points or so. They say it's worse than that. It's 5+. And then, of course, you have Georgia and other states that are just out of reach. They're not even in the margin of error. So this feels like a bit of a denial situation right now for Biden, and I just think it's a matter of time. I would say mark my words, but I'm pretty confident that he's going to get out before the convention.
Okay, well, the clock is ticking. I think once the convention comes and goes, if he's still the candidate, then the time has actually run out for him to withdraw. Then you're into questions, can another candidate actually make it to the ballot?
Right.
There's a lot of things at play, and David, we look forward to all of your reports, and I'm so glad you're staying very busy. Thanks for joining with us.
You bet. I'll get some more sleep if I can.
All right.